I am going to get started. People are still arriving, and I'll let them in as we get into the conversation. Hello again, and welcome to Talking Dirty with BICSc. We have had over 428 people register for this webinar, and as such, you are all muted, and we have turned all your cameras off so that we can get through as many of the questions as possible. Before I start, I'd just like to say we aren't going to be able to get through all 428 questions, but what we are doing is we're continuing this format into 2026, and we'll be running this format every quarter in 2026. We'll try and not repeat questions from one to the next, but it's always very difficult to guarantee that. We will focus on BICSc's main area of expertise, which is training and training. Okay, well, I've got somebody saying that they can't hear anything. Can anybody else hear anything? Okay, most people are saying they can hear. It may be on your side if you can't, I'm afraid. Yeah, I can. Everybody's saying sounds fine. I can hear you clearly. I'm very sorry if you can't. I'm not certain as to why that is happening. Okay, so carrying on, we're going to focus on obviously our area of expertise. We'll direct you in the direction of other organisations that will be able to help you if there are things that we can't answer. And to get things started, we've had a few questions around healthcare. So I'm going to start off on the healthcare questions, and our expert here on healthcare is smiling nicely in the corner, and that's Kelsey. So Kelsey, it's over to you for these first few questions. So the first one I've got for you is, what training is available for healthcare cleaning operatives?
Amazing. I don't think I was smiling or dreading what was about to happen, but here we go. So in terms of healthcare training at BICSc, many people don't know that we actually have a healthcare offering of the CPSS skills. So everybody's used to, the usual base unit 1, base Unit 2. We actually have healthcare versions of these skills that are in line with the national standards of healthcare cleanliness. So all of the same skills, just in line with the NHS. This is NHS England standards for the main, as most of the trusts in the UK are actually in England. In 2020 time, so it has been there for a while. I do want to mention, whilst we're on that subject, for anyone that's thinking, amazing, I can add these skills, that you absolutely can. There are some things we need to do in order to for people to move over, if they want to move over to a healthcare setup. And I also want to note that it's actually only the BICSc own assessors and SafeFast that can be healthcare and normal skill accredited. So aside from the CPSS, we also have a few training courses that are generically written for the NHS standards that came out in 2021. So we saw a big change then. We wrote a course for auditors and also for operatives to understand all of the major changes that happened. Obviously, the standards moved on quite significantly from years gone by. So these courses explain the difference between efficacy and technical audits, how to implement them around patients, such as like mealtime, protected times, but also basically the whole quality assurance model around that. Obviously, there are other courses that BICSc have available that would really help. So, for example, cleaning inspections works really, really nicely with those NHS healthcare related courses, but also a lot of other clean logic courses that we have available, such as controlling cross-contamination, principles of health and safety, all of those. So although there are significant NHS ones that we have, there's definitely other ones available.
And obviously, I'd like to add to that, there is also the level 2 apprenticeship. So So, and that can be done either on a commercial or a healthcare bias as well. So look out for that. Moving on to our second question about healthcare, and I'm losing the ability to speak today. I do apologise, but the question is, Kelsey, how can I effectively communicate non-compliances found during a quality assurance audit?
Okay. There's many different ways that you can do it. Obviously, if we're talking about site-based or a trust-based setup like we have in the UK, there might actually be agreed processes that you need to follow, especially where teams are multidisciplinary, such as with estates or with clinical teams. From experience, even now, believe it or not, we don't only just train at BICSc, we do go and do this stuff. The best way to do it is to walk the audit with the people asking the questions, actually show them what's gone on and how it's happened. Pictures are another great tool that are seldom used by a lot of people, either because their tools don't allow for that or simply because, let's face it, after the 20th picture, everybody loses the will to live a little bit. But pictures can be a really great way of showing that. From a quality assurance point of view, it's really important that you have data for an extended period of time, that you're not just randomly starting off with this information. It's important that you draw back and always lead it to policy. So whatever has been agreed. Quality assurance only works, especially remedial actions for quality assurance, if there is a spec or a standard agreed. So it's important to have all of those tools available beforehand.
Okay, a couple of questions popped in, and while we're on healthcare, I will do that. Philip, you've got some staff coming to our head office for assessor practice, I would imagine, not training. The training is online next week. They aren't being assessed against any courses, be it healthcare or not. It's about practicing how to assess. We can use the healthcare route or the standard route, but basically they aren't being assessed in anything. They will have already been assessed in their skills. If you want your team to be healthcare based, what you can do is we can talk to your account manager and they can help you. The second question, Claire from Birmingham and Solihull Mental Health Trust, I think. Is it possible to get a list of all the courses available? It's all available on our website for ease, and I will put a link in there for you. And moving on, let's move on. Can the national standard of cleaning technical audits be touch as well as visual? If the Trust IPC team are in agreement and correct hand hygiene procedures are followed?
I've been told many times that my face gives everything away, so my personal opinion is definitely out there after my facial expressions on that one. In the national standards, it specifically sort of notes that visual audits are the best in terms of that's the recommended way to go. As BICSc, we would also recommend a visual audit, literally just due to controlling cross-contamination and for the safety of not only the auditors walking around putting their hands on every surface, but also all of the other stakeholders and patients within an area. I also absolutely hate it when people glide their finger along a surface and gather up all of this different type of contamination and think that it's come from one area. If you swipe for long enough, you are going to always find something. There's so many practices that need to come into play here. This isn't just hand hygiene per ward or per room. If you think about if you did a side room, are you going to wash your hands in between the patient bedroom part and the washroom part of the side room? The different surfaces in there have all had different contamination types. I'm not going to go too heavily into it on a Friday morning, but there's many elements in that room, over 50 in a lot of cases, and they start with bedpans and commodes, and I'm not going to go on. But it also heavily states in the national standards that it is part of a trust-based agreement procedure. So if it has been agreed, I would want a clear SOP in place of what is expected. And then you're also probably going to need an assurance system in place to make sure that these auditors are actually following the regulations that you're putting in place for PPE and for hand hygiene. So almost the technical audit that would then, for whoever the auditor is, almost form part of an efficacy audit as well.
We've got one question come in from manager at NHS. I'm not sure if there's enough information here to actually answer the question, but they're saying, can use the paper towels for the swipe.
Again, I mean, there's nothing specifically in the standards that says how you can do it. I would just be very mindful of what you're picking up on said paper towel, where you're disposing of it, and what you're gathering. Again, I would still suggest that the same hand hygiene and PPE procedures should be in place. You have no idea what your paper towel is touching, and it's not exactly the barrier for all barriers in terms of the thickness of something that you're using, or even the actual makeup of the paper towel itself. Personal opinion and also BICSc opinion is that we would always recommend a visual audit to keep people safe. And I mean, I can see Denise is probably raring to say it, but a selfie stick, mirror on a stick with a light on, a phone on a selfie stick are an excellent tool. And believe me, having to not, get on my hands and knees every 2 seconds or jump up with my little legs has been life-changing. So yeah, obviously there's definitely visual aids that we want, but a really good selfie stick or a mirror on a stick with a light can do just as good.
Dee, do you want to drop in there?
And I would always recommend the visual. You don't know what you're touching. You don't know what you're making airborne. So why would you put more contaminant into the air?
Okay, I think that's the main areas around the healthcare side of things. I'm going to jump onto a few key questions for BICSc. The first one really is, how long does a virtual training course take, and can I complete it in one or multiple sessions? Shall I take that one?
Oh, yes.
Okay, it depends on the course you're taking. Every course has a different timescale. It is indicated within the virtual training suite. For example, it also depends on each candidate as well. They could take slightly longer, slightly quicker. For example, a license to practice should take you about 2 hours to go through all the practical training and the video demonstration, and then there's obviously the assessment at the end. But we have other courses that you can do in 10, 15 minutes. There are some of the free courses. It is indicated on each course. And in terms of, can you go back, do you have to do it in one or multiple sessions? You can go back again and again within the timescale you're given. License to practice, you have 14 days to go through it. You can go back to it 10 times a day on each of those 14 days if you wish. Other courses are you given a month for. Again, you can go back every day and go in and out and rewatch and rewatch. So I'll move on from there unless I've missed anything, Denise.
No, as you say, it's candidate dependent, and also the timescales on the courses are different. So read the blurb on the website. When you get your contact email, have a look at how long access you have for.
Okay, probably a question that I'm looking forward to your answer, Denise. More frequently, I'm coming across clients who suggest that it's not clean when it doesn't smell clean. What are the panel's thoughts on this? I'll let you go first.
Well, for people that know me, I used to work for Johnson Wax, and our best-selling cleaner disinfectant didn't have a scent. And after 5 years of constant customer complaint, it was given a scent. It is perception. It doesn't need to smell clean. It doesn't need to smell of lemon or pine or peach, but it needs to look clean and be clean. So I don't like overpowering smells. I prefer it not to have a scent, but I do know a lot of clients keep pushing that barrier, and realistically, it depends on the site as to what they demand. But I would say smell isn't an indication of clean.
Kelsey?
Yeah, I think the whole stigma around it leads to so much bad practice. I mean, me and Denise have spoken about it on countless times, especially when we're out doing whatever work. The amount of people that spray furniture polish near a vent, or, you know, whack a deodorizer up at the door, just to save cleaning the room. No, I think it's something that we definitely need to work on as an industry, especially, I mean, I don't want to go back to the whole healthcare Hargreaves bit, that obviously in a lot of healthcare, you know, we're not allowed scents. So it is something that we need to start training out of people. I think, you know, we're used to having at home so many different scents in our home, and a smell for this and a smell for that, and lemon gel for this, and, you know, if it doesn't smell like cinnamon cookies or whatever else at autumn, it's not clean. I think there needs to be more of a challenge, especially at the moment, with the quality of air that we're actually having in places, and all of these scents and things that we're introducing, whether it's through chemicals or but in terms of the chemicals that we clean with or through other means. We need to have more of a discussion within training of what we're actually doing to the air quality around us, and sort of the resistance that we're bringing in with that.
We had this discussion a couple of weeks ago at Home Life and You event, where me and Kelsey were on a panel discussing this. And me personally, I don't use anything with a scent in my home. And I think from my perspective, my house doesn't smell dirty, but it's cleaned and it smells fresh. Other people may disagree with that, but that's how I feel it. There's a freshness smell to it without the cloyiness of a fake scent. I'm really not a fan of cinnamon, as soon as you raised that earlier, Kelsey. So that to me would be a real cloying smell at home. But no, I don't. I never assume clean with the smell of a chemical. And I don't think it necessarily indicates that it is. We've just had somebody drop into the chat, chemical with more foam cleans more. And again, I know what's coming from my colleagues, and for me, the foam does not dictate. It's all about dilution. It's all about using the correct amount of chemical for the amount of water that you're using. So I'll hand over to my colleagues.
It is dilution, the correct dilution every time. More of something doesn't do a better job. In fact, more of something can actually make it harder to clean afterwards, because the dirt sticks to the product is then contaminated, your floor's then contaminated. And I think we've all walked across the floors that squeak, and that literally is over chemical. So more isn't better.
Okay, we've just had a comment from John Anderson. Very apparent now we're moving to chemical-free solutions. We get more challenges from uneducated clients, and he's saying the key is talking to the clients and actually educating them, and that's what is key for him. We keep having a question about what can you use to clean a stain from the grass that refused to remove, and what can you do? Unfortunately, we aren't experts in cleaning grass unless that's a typo. Could you get back to us and let us know what you mean by that? And somebody's asking what type of air freshener can be used in a toilet or washroom that will be harmless to asthma patients in a busy organisation.
I'd prefer none at all. Clean properly. Air fresheners generally, they will annoy somebody. Even hand soap, when you look at hand soap, 1 in 4 people will react to a change in hand soap. So it's going to be a very similar ratio to people reacting to air freshener.
Okay, somebody's saying that they probably mean glass. So handing over, what can you use to clean a stain from the glass that refused to remove?
It depends what the stain is. So what caused the stain in the first place? Is it sticky? Is it cement? Is it dirt? Is it... Each stain will have a solution.
Okay, so let's move on to some of the questions that came in. So, right, where do I go? Here we go. What specific training do housekeepers need in a care home?
That's quite a wide question, because what is their role within the care home? So realistically, I'd answer it across the industry. Train people for the role they do, train them for the role they carry out. So are they cleaning washrooms? Are they cleaning bedrooms? Are they cleaning kitchen areas? Are they cleaning restaurants? Are they cleaning the main entrance? Are they liaising with patients, which generally they will, so some customer service training as well as physical cleaning training. Look at the roles that you have and then decide the training programme for that role.
Okay, and the next one, what do you see future trends to help save time and manpower?
Ooh, thank you very much. Training and management. So training liaises with the people, it makes them feel valued. It also shows them how to do the job efficiently and effectively. So training has a multiple effect across your business, not just on getting the result, but also making your people feel valued, making them know that they're doing the job safely. It passes through so many different routes. So it's not enough just to train them. You then need to inspect and audit what they're doing, and you need to provide feedback for them. Unless you're liaising with the operative, it doesn't continue to work without you there. Every cog makes the wheel go round.
Else?
Yeah, I would talk about, obviously, we're BICSc, we're going to talk about training the operative. I would talk about the whole piece, especially where people are moving to more productivity-based rationalizations of the future. It's education in terms of what actual productivity is, understanding the time of your staff, the efficiency of your staff, and also making deductions. So we've spoken a lot about understanding what productivity actually means. Just because somebody is contracted to 7.5 hours a day, or you've got 300 hours for your team, does not mean that they are cleaning for 7.5 hours a day. And I think setting realistic expectations of that from the start actually means that you sort of get over a lot of the bumps a lot quicker and have a more realistic expectation. And do you know what is actually amazing when you start to think about setup times, close down times, the equipment that we use, and even though it might be sold to us as the biggest fix in the world at the time, actually the fact that Margaret can't set it up, or that John's not really liking it, so he's not using it. It's a much bigger process of education for people that are implementing it. And also, whenever we introduced new efficient things, we have to think of a mobilization period. It can't just be that we introduce a robotic vacuum and away it goes. There has to be a period of constant looking at this machine in terms of making sure that all of our teams are integrating with it. And that goes for anything that we introduce. So yeah, that's it. That's my 2p worth.
Okay, I think I'll add to that. Obviously, there's the indication of bringing technology into the cleaning process, and yes, there are efficiencies to be had from bringing technology in, whether it's sensor technology, whether it's occupancy technology. There's a lot of technology out there coming in that can help with efficiency, along with using robots, along with freeing up operative time. And this is a common question from all of you. I think from my perspective, what BICSc focuses on is we focus on training. We focus on making sure the cleaning operative, the supervisor are safe. In terms of the technology, there are organisations out there, for example, the CSSA, the Cleaning Support Services Association, will be able to focus in on technology a lot more than we are and be able to give you more advice on that. But yeah, there are a lot of efficiencies that can be had from technology. And there's a couple of questions coming in. Given the extensive training programs within BICSc, do you offer any training support for end clients alongside service providers to help the education gap? See, that's probably a specialism for you, isn't it?
To be honest, a lot of our courses work both ways. And as a contractor, one of the things I used to do was invite the client to come and watch the training sessions with the staff, because they didn't understand just what we used to do with our staff or how far we trained them or what we expected from them. So actually communication with the client about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and letting them view the impact that you're having with those people is actually quite key. But also the courses on things like inspection, the courses on science, all of those work for the client as well as for the staff, because they should know how to inspect. And one of the key parts there is, first of all, understanding the specification. And often you'll get that the client, or sometimes the site people, don't have a full mutual understanding of what that specification is. So educating both ways works really well.
Yeah, I don't think we probably don't have something specifically that's aimed at the service providers, but I do think it's down to Denise has just said, really down to the contractor to be able to talk to their customer, to talk to the end clients, and actually share that. And if that's something that's wanted, we can assist in that, but we don't have something specifically for that. Okay, carrying on with the questions. This is around environmentally friendly products. So my team is asking about the latest stain and dirt removal techniques using environmentally friendly and inexpensive materials. Who wants to volunteer for that first?
I think we'll both have two pennies on this one. Environmentally friendly are more and more prevalent now, but what we need to expect and also allow for is they don't always work in the same time frame that conventional product do. So maybe you need to allow more time, maybe you need to allow a different process. So basically work with your manufacturers to see what they're actually bringing to market and whether it suits your style of business.
Kelsey, do you want to?
I'll go further down the spiral of the doomsday route. I think you also need to question claims that are being made. I am sick of hearing chemical-free, eco-friendly, when people don't know or understand the claims that they're making. There's definitely some great products out there. There's definitely some great products that you can almost create with the right dilution of natural products. But the whole eco-friendly really needs to be questioned. And luckily for us, as if we didn't have enough policies and processes to stick to already, upcoming in April will be a lot of the EU regulations that sort of almost move over and allow us to basically be in a bit of a safer place where people can't make claims about eco-friendly products. So there's definitely things out there, definitely trial them, see what works for you, but also question what they're actually being advertised as or sold as, because chemical-free, well, if you do a little bit of research into it, it's amazing how much stuff is actually chemical-free. I mean, even water's not chemical-free. So really question the claims that are being made and trial for your own sites. Don't just accept a one-size-fits-all.
And we do have a free greenwashing course on the BICSc website. Have a look at that to see what claims are actually valid and what words you need to look out for.
Okay, there's been a couple of questions. This one is more relevant to what we've just answered. Green certified building, is it mandatory for a green certified building to use green certified cleaning products? That I think really depends on the building. And it depends on what certification they've got and all of that. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
It does depend on the certification. The certification will call for certain things, and there's quite a few different green certifications out in the market.
Okay, moving on to the questions that came in. What are the most common mistakes to avoid when implementing colour coding systems in a cleaning environment, and how can BICSc guidelines address these?
I'd like to start with one point that a lot of people overlook. A number of people are colourblind. So can you check whether or not your operatives can actually differentiate between the colours when you put your colour coding program in? That for me would be the first step. And the second step is just to keep it really simple. BICSc has a colour coding system we recommend. It's easy to follow. You don't want anything that's too complicated or not available.
Anything to add, Kelsey?
Yeah, no, I think for me, from being on that side of it, if you're not going to follow sort of industry standard, which is BICSc, similar to the NHS standards, something that's readily used around the world, if you are going to implement your own colours, make sure people can see it, but also make sure you can buy it. You don't want to start off with what you think is a great new system and then find out that no equipment comes in those outside of the ordinary colours, and that also colour transference doesn't happen. with certain equipment when you start cleaning with some of these products on your sites, eco-friendly or not.
Okay, moving on then. Somebody is asking, what is an MSDS?
Right, so MSDS is what we now call SDS. It was Master Safety Data Sheet. It's now Safety Data Sheet. That changed in 2015, and that should give you your chemical makeup and also the information, 16 points in line with the REACH regulations about what PPE you need to wear, what medical things you need on standby, what your actual product needs for transference, cleaning up, etc.
Okay, we've also got a question, which cleaning management software should I choose? I think we have kind of addressed this already. In terms of technology, we're not in a position to recommend any particular software. There are quite a number of very good ones out there. I would recommend contacting the CSSA again around this information because it's their area of expertise, not ours. Okay, so this one I'm curious because I actually don't know the answer to this one. So, cement stains on the floor tiles after construction. What is the best approach or solution for removing the stain without having adverse effects on the floor and the environment?
I have to say, as a contractor that did builders cleans, and I'm going back a lot of years, we used to use a form of brick acid. That was the only way we could remove the cement. But you do have to be careful and you have to make sure that you don't damage the tile. So the best way to do it is to make sure it doesn't get there in the first place.
Okay. I think we've addressed this slightly again already, but I'll raise it to see in case I've misunderstood. So, why is the best way to approach customers with unrealistic expectations who regularly move the goalposts when it wasn't me that set up the original contract, but have to manage the operatives at the site, and this person manages remotely?
Communication. So make sure that both sides understand the specification that's been issued and what's actually going to be delivered from that specification. We talk time and time again about having a scope of works with a specification. So if it says mop a floor, do I mop the middle? Do I mop everything and move things? Your scope of works should give you that detail. Your specification doesn't always. So read your specification, make sure that you understand, and then talk to the client. Kels?
Yeah, I would say because obviously I think we're finding it more and more as well now, that people walk into essentially contracts where all of these things haven't been put in place before. Your best way to do it in that situation, in my opinion, is to audit. Actually go and audit with the other person and set the spec from there. You're going to have a really open conversation about what is acceptable and what is not. It will take long. It will not be a nice audit. But it's a really good surefire way of actually seeing it in practice. Everyone can write the most idealistic spec sat behind a table or working from home or whatever else people might be doing off site. But doing that audit, walking around and seeing what is actually realistic to be achieved in terms of the area type. We all want sparkly. No, sparkle doesn't mean clean, but we all want sparkly and smelling nice and everything else. But we sometimes forget that 5,000 people every hour are walking through a space or whatever else. So if you are in a situation where you've not set anything, really important to actually see the site together, audit and set realistic expectations.
Okay, I think basically, if I can add, I can add to that. I think it's communication, and I think when we're teaching cleaning inspections, the theory of cleaning inspections, it's getting people to understand what dirty actually means, and everybody's interpretation of dirty is different. So if you're walking around with the client and say to them, this is what the contract says and this is what it means, and the client saying, but that isn't, you're not achieving it because I think that's dirty, that helps you then set the expectation and change that expectation to what is realistic. Okay, I'm going to move on. And the next question is quite applicable to auditing. In your experience, what are the key components of an effective audit and inspection process, and how can it be used to motivate and manage cleaning teams while maintaining high standards of health and safety?
Do you want to go first, Kels? You do most of the auditing.
Yeah, I'll go for it, yeah. The best way to do it is to do sort of a double faceted audit. So what I mean by that is an audit and an inspection are two very different things. So it's very important to have a clean inspection. And when we are doing a clean inspection, we need to make sure we're evidencing with pictures, but also that we're using terminology that everybody understands what is meant within that cleaning inspection, so that we're all on the same page. I mean, we all have different ideas of levels of dirty. I think people just need to look in their home lives. What you're saying to your partner at home as part of the industry will be very different to other people. The other side of standardizing all of that stuff is also to make sure that we're checking the efficacy of the people that clean. So what I mean by this is we need to look at the personnel that we've got, make sure that they're following company policies and the specs that are in place. We need to make sure that they actually have access to good equipment so they can actually do their job properly. And where they do have access to equipment, making sure that that's being kept safe and in a place that is actually clean itself. We also want to look at the policies and the processes and all of the documentation that we're putting in place for these people, because a lot of the time it's just that they haven't been trained, they haven't had access to training, or they've not got any repeat sort of material to be able to do their job properly. So it's not just about checking to see if there's dust on a skirting board, it is about all of the stuff behind that, because that will give us great indications on where we actually stand and how we're actually going to fix things.
And it's giving feedback to those people that are doing the job. Show them how you can do it more easily. Show them how they can do it effectively. So there's lots of trips and sorry, I passed on Neil's ability not to speak. There are lots of tricks that we can teach to make things easier. Things like flat mops, doing walls, doing skirtings, doing edges. There's things that we can actually show them that make it effective. So it's also in educating the people that are doing it to get to the standard that we want to get to.
I've got a couple of people asking how to improve cleaning standards. And I think from everything we've been talking about throughout this, we're always going to say training. Training is always one of the ways you can improve your cleaning standards. And as Denise mentioned at the beginning, it's not only about training. Just giving somebody the training isn't enough. They also need to be managed. They also need to be motivated, supervised, and even in the same as any role, whether it's a cleaning operative, whether it's a customer support person, these people need to be managed. They need to be supported by the team, etc. And it doesn't just happen because they've had training. It's more a company ethos than just the training. Denise, do you want to add anything quickly to that?
I think you get an awful lot more respect when you work with your staff, when they know that you know how to do the job and you're willing to work alongside them. I think you get a much better result.
The next one is explain how you would document and report a near-miss accident using the BICSc methods.
It's a health and safety issue if it's a near miss. So really it should follow the same sort of policy that your actual accident reporting does, because what a near miss should do is stop the accident happening. So you do need to make sure you've got a robust process in place. Look at the health and safety website as what they recommend. They have a template on there. But more than that, feed back to people what that near miss was and give them ways of stopping it happening again.
Okay, so now on to a cleaning task. How to make a wooden tile shine.
Right, so I'm presuming by wooden tile you mean even parquet floor or strip floor. And really it depends what's on the floor already. So what has been the process of cleaning that floor? Is it an oil-based process? Is it a wax-based process? Is it a polymer-based process? You need to understand what's been done to the wood so that you can then maintain the shine with the appropriate method for that. So first thing you do with any form of wood is find out what people have done in the past. And basically, at the moment, it's either oil, wax, or polymer bases that are going to give you a shine.
While we're on floors, just lost the question. There you go. Which method is better to clean the stubborn stain on an interlock floor?
Right, again, it's going to depend what that stain is. So depending what the stain is, depends what you need to do to treat it to bring it out. Flooring type matters as well. So there's certain products you wouldn't use on an epoxy floor, a marble floor, a terrazzo floor that you could use on a vinyl or a lino floor. So you need to know your floor types, and preferably you need to know your stain types. It could be poultice, it could be product.
Okay, we've also had a question come in, main use and purpose of alkaline cleaners and the difference, which mops can be used in what kind of surface?
Right, so alkaline cleaners, alkalines shift dirt. So they move dirt and build up. Your alkaline products tend to be heavy duty or some of the stronger disinfectants. It depends what your product makeup is. Alkaline on a floor type, be careful not to use too strong an alkaline because it will strip polish and strip shine. Your floor type, is it a safety floor? Is it a vinyl? Is it a lino? And again, linos can be sensitive to alkaline, so be careful. It really does depend your floor type and your floor kind. So if you're looking at safety floors, there's specific flat mops that deal with safety floor, but your usual method for cleaning that is actually to wet the floor, let the dirt actually float to the surface, which means keeping that floor wet and then removing it. Alternatively, as I say, with flat mops, they do like a scrubby mop that doesn't catch onto the safety flooring. So look at your floor type again to choose the correct product, the correct mop.
Okay, I'm going to move on. And one of the next questions, Kelsey, I'm giving this to you because I love your responses to this. Can robots replace humans in the field of cleaning? What are the ways to avoid unemployment if the human element is replaced by robots? And what is the optimal use of robots in cleaning operations?
Okay, I might need to go over the few of them extra questions that came with that again.
Okay. What can robots replace humans in the field of cleaning?
No. Not currently. I'm trying to be nice, Neil. Not currently. Look, I think people have really unrealistic expectations with robotics at the moment, and even in the way that we call them robotics when they're literally there to work with us. There's so much work that needs to go on around robots, and I'm not just talking in the design element of robots, because I do think some of them actually do a decent job. There needs to be a lot more education around what they're actually there for and how we work around them. And also, if somebody could develop a robot that could actually get in the corners and edges of a floor, like, I would be, really, really grateful, and do all of the, the things around it. People have invested a lot of money into robotics, and there is definitely, there's definitely a place for them. I've seen on sites productivity levels go up, but only where, like I said before, they've been mobilized correctly, and we actually have realistic expectations of what can happen. Robots do not take cigarette breaks or go on sick or go on holiday, but they do break down and they do require maintenance, and that is something that we need to start embedding in the thought process of when we're actually implementing these things. Also, the usability of them in different types of areas, the different treads that we have, and who's actually going to charge them, who's actually going to be part of that maintenance program, and whether other stakeholders within a business actually understand how to move around them and the security that comes with them. So I don't think it's going to overtake clean operatives. I do think it's going to be a really, really good helping hand, as long as people start actually understanding how to implement them effectively, and actually retrain their staff around it. And I'm not just talking about where the robotic or the cobotic is going to be kept or how to maintain it, but how to change their working day, their schedule, and the spec to be more appropriate to a cobotic cleaning team?
I think I mean, in terms of my opinion on this, and I'm the technology, I love the technology, and I am all for the technology. I think the robots have a place, and I think it's very narrow-minded to think that the robots will take away the cleaning operative, in terms of there is always going to be a manual task out there that a robot can't do. Yeah, in 50 years' time, a robot that's fully humanoid may be able to do it all, but at the moment it isn't. And I think for me, it's a missed opportunity for people that are working within a cleaning team, for them to be given additional training to become more maintenance orientated around the robotics. You know, a robot in the main can replace a walk behind scrubber dryer, for example. You could have a robotic scrubber dryer, which would free somebody up to do more detailed tasks, to do the edges, to do the corners, to do touch points, to do all the bits that need to be done on top of the robot. And I think when we're fighting with a lack of employment, in terms of everybody is saying that they're struggling to get people into their roles, I think the robotic side of things and the technology side of things will help that. Did I cut you off when I started talking?
I was going to say, for me, I think the start point is explaining to the operatives just what the robot will do and also what it won't do. It won't make people redundant, in my view, because you're right, we're desperately short of operatives. But if they understand what it's capable of and it's very clearly explained, I think we can take away some of the fear factor, and that's what we need to do.
Okay. The questions are coming in thick and fast, and I'm not getting very far through all the questions that have already come in. So I apologise, I'm not going to be able to get to all of you. We've got 10 minutes left on this webinar. I want to answer a couple of questions. Particularly, somebody's asked, how can I get my LTP if I want to get it by myself? Contact us, we'll talk you through that. You can do it online, you can do it in a face-to-face environment. Different costs, obviously, but we will help you get through that. In terms of, do we have any physical training scheduled to 2026, please? If Juliet's on this call, we don't have anything scheduled, but face-to-face training is done on a as needed requirement. Contact us, talk to us, and again, we will help on that. Okay, I mean, we've just talked a bit about floors, and one of the questions coming up is how to clean and maintain terrazzo epoxy floors, which are two different floors. And I think you've more or less covered a bit of that off in one of your previous questions, Dave.
And so one of the things I haven't mentioned, diamond pads. Again, you can use diamond pads and water. With terrazzo in particular, a lot of the retailers have moved to diamond pads and moved away from product. So have a look at what you can do, but mainly have a look at your floor sheets. So have a look at your OHM manual, look at what it recommends for that type of floor, and then talk to your manufacturers.
Okay, the importance of wearing PPE.
Oh, I'll take this one. Then I'll hand to Kelsey. For those of you who know me, I've worked in the industry a very long time, and I shamefully admit when I first started, I did not wear rubber gloves or PPE or nitrile gloves. Next time you meet me, have a look at my hands. I suffer with work-related dermatitis. It's worse in winter. Please wear your PPE. It looks after your health long term. The reason we do PPE checks and what we should wear is to maintain safety, and that's basically what we're all about. And I will pass over to the choir. Kelsey?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, aside from the obvious drama and troubles that we have with the products that we use, it's also you have no idea what we're touching. We haven't yet. There might be a cobotic created for it, Neil. Got X-ray vision when we're cleaning. We have no idea what we're picking up. Not even, just in a washroom area. We have no idea how far all of this is traveling. And especially with the air quality around a lot of the machines that we're using and the claims that are being made, by all of these different new machines. So really important to follow any guidance that we get, and also just think about what could potentially be on the surface, because I know that I don't want to touch a lot of it.
I don't think I can add to that. I mean, basically, you don't know what's been brought in on somebody's feet. You don't actually know, cleaning a table, what somebody has done on that table. And yeah, we'll leave it there. And the second part of this question is, what are the benefits of using microfiber? Kelsey, do you want to start on this? Because I think you're already on the main screen.
Of course, yeah. Benefits of using microfiber. Well. A good way of cleaning without all of the harsh chemicals that people talk about in terms of what we're bringing into products. I don't want to. I do a lot of. I tend to rant a lot, as we've all probably seen. But a lot of people don't use microfiber correctly, which is a real shame. We don't think about sort of the dilutions that are necessarily needed for microfiber, and if we actually charge them correctly, the power that it can have. So I'm going to change the question a bit just so I can keep talking. But basically, if we are buying microfiber, the real power comes from correct maintenance of it, in terms of correct washing. So pop that soft conditioner away that we're putting in with it, and get washing it over a temperature that will kill the bacteria. Don't always trust the claims that your washing machine at home or that you have on site from a domestic washing machine point of view have made that they can clean over a certain temperature. But do start leaving your microfiber in water for 10 minutes and let it charge, let it soak up all of the material that we need, so that it will clean better. I think it's a really efficient way to clean, but only if it's maintained properly. Everybody knows the feeling of a brand new microfiber cloth, especially if you think about glass and mirrors. We've got that lovely one that we get out of the packet, and it never dries the same again, or it never cleans the same again. So actually, the same as we would do with actual like cleaning chemicals and products that we use, actually follow the manufacturer's guidance on how to maintain your microfiber equipment. And it will probably last a lot longer. It does depend obviously on the makeup of the microfiber, but you might actually have that nice touch. And if you're worried that you've got as I do at home, a microfiber graveyard, my top 2 ways of checking them is giving it a good old scratch in your hand and feeling if the fibers in the microfiber stick to your cuticles and to your fingertips, or also because it can hold sort of 10 times its own weight in water. Run it underneath a tap and see if it starts to grab onto that water straight away instead of just sliding straight off it. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. I've managed to change that into what I wanted to speak about.
Hey.
Microfiber used properly is more efficient and it lets you clean more quickly. But I would say probably 8 out of 10 people don't use it correctly. Don't launder it correctly, add products they should never add to it. Not only do you not need softener, you don't need biological washing powders with it. Please follow your manufacturer's instructions and please wear your PPE. And again, I spent a day folding microfiber for trolleys. By the end of that day, my hands were bleeding because it does drag out all the natural oils from your hands. So wear your PPE, follow your manufacturer's instructions, use it properly.
In my perspective, microfiber is a great way of reducing the need for harsh chemicals. I'm not going to say chemical free because I've just written an article about the misuse of the words chemical free, but it reduces the need for using harsh chemicals. You can just clean and remove from surfaces 90% of the bacteria, if not more, with a good microfiber cloth. So why would you want to use a harsh chemical when you don't have to? So I'm all for that, for the use of microfibers, and I do think it adds to sustainability. Fully aware there are elements of plastics within a microfiber cloth. Before other people jump on that, I am aware of that. But overall, if you buy a good quality microfiber cloth that cleans for 500 plus washes, you care for it properly, it is a very effective cleaning tool. Anyway, moving on. Simon, you're asking about specific solutions for cleaning companies and the way you want to digitise. I have answered this previously, and I think really there are lots out there, but I think if you go to the CSSA, the Cleaning Support Services Association, they are working around technology, and they have a lot more knowledge about this than we do. As I said previously, we focus around ensuring the cleaning operative is safe, ensuring the supervisor safe, and making sure that cleaning operatives have all the tools they need to do the jobs they do. I think really we've got about a minute left of this webinar. I would like to say thank you to all of you. Your engagements with these webinars are massive, and we get so many questions, and trying to work through them all is very, very difficult. I mean, any last words from you, Kelsey or Denise, before we sign off?
For me, just to say thank you for coming, guys, and thanks for the questions, because it's great to actually address some of the issues that people are facing.
Yeah. And I'm thankful that it's the last one of the year, Neil, to be honest.
There's 4 more next year, Kels, don't worry.
No, thank you for all the questions. It's actually really nice to see what people are thinking about in the industry. And that often we're all thinking the same thing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. And again, apologies, we can't get to everything. We perhaps need to make these longer, but I think you get fed up with the sound of our voices. We hope you have a very good rest of your Friday and a great weekend. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the early part of 2026.